History is a set of lies agreed upon. Have you heard that one before?
I have not.
You haven't? Do you know who said it? Napoleon Bonaparte.
Well, this is very topical.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that's a cool
I should have
one.
said. I should have guessed.
I thought that was a good quote. And
Sure.
He's an interesting figure. First of all, folks, who are we? We are Tom Daly here alongside my good friend, the Doctor of History, Sean McCarthy. This is the Tell Me a Story podcast that we kick out every Wednesday, where we tackle different topics from our area and from around the world. And there's a connection here to the Napoleonic Wars for sure.
We
Big time.
certainly, yeah.
All right, so it's episode 16, correct?
16, yeah,
All
that's
right.
it.
Episode 16, the Napoleonic Wars. Let's dive in. It's more than one war, because it's called the Napoleonic Wars, and lots and lots of battles. Sean, what's your favorite battle?
My favorite battle. I think my favorite battle is the Battle of Eylau in 1807. Yeah. How about you?
I don't have a favorite one. I was going to say the one at the end when Lord Nelson and all that sort of thing, Battle of Trafalgar, or something like that. And
that's a good one.
But then the more I was reading about I went down a rabbit hole once I found that the Rothschilds were actually backing Britain in
probably
in the war. So
sure.
Immediately that made me go, that made me question everything. And so let's talk a little bit about, I guess, Napoleon the man first. France is in a pretty wild place, aren't they? The kings there, old King Louis, the 14th and the 15th.
And the 16th.
And the 16th. All in a row. Each one was a little bit worse, it seems like. And so the royal family lost favor pretty darn quick there. Again, in our part of Canada here, we talk about that 1750s time period. Mm-hmm. And, it seems like the French Empire was pretty strong around that point, correct?
Sure, yeah.
So it all goes to hell in about 60 years there or so, or
it's not doing great. Obviously, I mean, the loss in the 7 Years' War isn't helping. The fact that it tries to kind of get one back on Britain during the American Revolution, but probably spends a little bit too much money in order to do that.
It was Statue of Liberty. That's what sank them.
Well. Yeah. I think that came later, though. I'm almost certain it came later, but that's it. Like I say, they spend too much money in order to become involved in that, and of course, that leads to a lot of problems inside of the country. And Louis XVI is not a very strong ruler, and things just sort of tumble out of control and tumble into revolution. And then revolution gets a little bit too revolutionary, and they decide that maybe we've kind of gone too far now. And they try to kind of vest power in a small group of people, and that group of people just keeps getting smaller until eventually it's only one person, Napoleon.
It's Napoleon. So from general first to emperor in the end. So he brought back the old Julius Caesar title.
He did. Crowned with his own hand.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so to talk a little bit more about Napoleon,
sure.
My mom remembers when she was like a little girl learning history, and we're talking like the late 1940s, early 1950s, and in school, Napoleon was really vilified.
Sure.
And they went so far as to teachers saying like he was the Antichrist and things like that. And it was wild. And people would say at that time, and even like she believed that he was the guy behind the guillotine, chopping off all those heads. He was the guy pulling the rope or whatever they pull.
Right.
And and he was the reason why so much of the clergy had to flee France and all this sort of thing. But it doesn't feel like that's quite the case now that he's as vilified whatsoever. No.
Definitely, I guess a more moderate figure as compared to the people, Robespierre and others, who were leading kind of the terror and cutting off everybody's heads and all of that. Obviously much more conservative if he's becoming an emperor rather than, but certainly made many more compromises with the clergy and all of that. Obviously had the Pope at his coronation, right? So, there's, that's it. Now, of course, that he's able to do that because, of course, he's also conquered all of Italy.
Also, he's from Italy, isn't he? He's not from
Corsica?
Corsica,
yeah.
Okay, which was part of Italy, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Interesting. So not straight out of Paris, France. Either.
No, that's true. That's true. Napoleone Bonaparte, right?
Oh, there
so
you
that's
go.
it. He's
There you go.
he's of, I guess, Franco-Italian ancestry. Yeah.
How tall was he?
I think he's probably taller than we give him credit for.
Yeah.
I think he's just obviously compared rather unfavorably with the really tall Duke of Wellington. So that's.
So question everything, folks. That's why I open with that quote. Stalin, much shorter than we're led to
there you go.
believe.
Yeah.
Napoleon, probably taller than
Yeah.
we're led to believe. So
I mean, probably short by today's standards, but I
Yeah.
mean, he's 5 something,
he
right? So
wouldn't have
he's
his chance in the Tinder bio today for
Yeah.
all those women looking for a guy over 6 feet.
I suppose. But I mean, he is
But
an emperor.
He's
so,
an
you know,
emperor. He's got money. so
it.
that conquers all. That conquers all.
That's
Ask
it.
Elon Musk.
You know?
It doesn't matter how awkward you are.
Yeah. I mean, obviously had his fair share of romance as well.
Yeah.
With Josephine, and then also with the daughter of his enemy, Francis of Austria.
I didn't know anything about that till I was doing research for this thing.
Yeah.
I always heard of Josephine as his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, who was my grandmother's name, my mom's mom,
Okay.
and she hated it for that reason. When I was like, no.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
hey, did you know? Probably when my mom came home from school, I'm like, oh my God, his wife has your name, Mom. Yeah.
There you go.
But what do I know? I'm married to a woman named Clara. Clara with a K. Look up whose mother that was.
Well, anyway, listen. I mean, like, what's in a name, right?
Exactly. Exactly. But in those days, quite a lot. And something that Napoleon does do it's a little crazy. It's got a little, dictatorship written over it, but I can see why he did it too, probably. Doesn't he make his brother the king of Holland or something?
He makes his one brother the king of Holland, one brother the king of Spain.
Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to kind of create a
nepotism
dynasty.
at its best here.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
All right. So
But I suppose,
who
who
can you trust at this point?
True.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's the safety of blood. It's also the fact that he's not the first person to think of let's put a relative on every throne.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout
They've been doing
throughout
it for
Europe.
years. Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, they were doing it through marriages usually, but this way he's
Yeah.
just like you. The job is yours.
Sure, sure. And wouldn't be the last person, obviously. If we get to that First World War and everybody's related,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's it. They've got a bad habit for doing that.
They
sort
got a
of thing.
bad habit. Yeah.
But yeah,
So France and Spain and Italy and all of that area is under Napoleon's control.
That's
and
true.
I guess that leaves Britain, the big one in the north. And where's Germany in all of this?
So Germany.
That's the Austro-German
Yeah.
crowd.
So Austria is kind of the perpetual enemy of France at this time. So every time there's a coalition formed, Austria is usually a part of that coalition.
That's what I'm thinking. And these
so-
back in these days, Germany has links to the royal family and in Britain pretty strong too. Do they
That's
not?
true. Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
So
yeah,
it's the House of Hanover. So,
Yeah.
which is weird because there are times when King George III is at peace with Napoleon as King of Hanover, but is at war with Napoleon as King of Britain, which is strange.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's. Yeah, so Britain and Austria are usually the kind of the perpetual enemies. Then with like Prussia and Russia and others who kind of are often enemies of France, but not always. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so Europe's a mess around this time. What's going on over here? We're in the lumbering business.
We certainly are.
Cutting wood.
And business is good.
Business is booming.
That's
you
it.
go through a lot of good ships in a bad war.
That's true. That's true. And of course, like I say, yeah, with Napoleon kind of controlling all of these Baltic ports and all of this, a lot of timber resources in Europe, Britain's coming over here to get their wood, and so we're more than happy to give it to them.
Exactly. So
yeah.
business is booming.
That's right.
The first Napoleonic War, when does that start? What year?
So I guess the first Napoleonic War would be the first war that Napoleon is involved in. Would have been in 1798, 99. Yeah.
Okay, it's that long ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like there would have been wars before that, but those would have been wars against the French Revolution.
All right.
So this is the first one that Napoleon is kind of involved in. By 1803, it's probably the first one where 1805, pardon me, is the first one where he's the emperor.
He's the emperor.
And so we're now fighting Napoleonic France.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, when did the ships start rolling out of here?
Pretty much right at that 1790
Right then, huh?
time.
Okay.
So the Lovell built on Beaubears Island actually sees action in that war. It is captured by the Dutch in April of 1799 and is taken to Norway, where it is impounded for some years, but is able to get free years later with the help of the British Navy and sails again until about 1802. Yeah. So it was loaded with 12 cannons, but of course was matched up against 4 Dutch ships and was just outnumbered. So, yeah.
Didn't stand a chance.
It did not.
All right. So after that, what's the next one?
So there are a number of other ships that were that kind of left here. I think the Sally. There's a few others anyway, but they're all kind of involved in that time, in those early wars. But of course the timber. They say that some of the timber from this area was used in 1800 when the HMS Victory was being refitted, of course being the ship of Admiral Lord Horatio Nelson.
Yes.
And so they say that some of the timber used in refitting that ship came from here in Miramichi. The spars came from Beaubears Island, a number of other stories of this nature. So when it went into battle in 1805 at the Battle of Trafalgar, it was sporting Miramichi timber.
Oh, there we go. And Nelson, of course, the place in Miramichi that you're from.
Yes, exactly.
Sure.
So they probably one of the reasons why they called it that in 1814.
Right.
Yeah. Of course, another connection from a local businessman from one of those earlier conflicts at the Battle of the Nile, Joseph Russell, a Chatham businessman, a Beaubears Island businessman, an early convert to Mormonism, was at the Battle of the Nile. He was a midshipman at that time, which I think was the battle where Lord Nelson lost his arm. I think he lost his eye in Copenhagen. I could have that back to front, but
I remember he lost a piece at a time.
He did. That's it. And then kind of lost it all at Trafalgar. And then they put him inside of that cask of rum, and apparently by the time he got back, everybody had kind of nipped down to have a little sip, and he was only half submerged by the time they got him back to England.
Hope that wasn't the rum I had. There's actually a rum out there called Nelson's Blood, and it's a red rum.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
It's blood red.
Yeah.
And
So you must like your rum an awful lot if you go down and you drink it out of a keg with a dead man inside of it.
I might give it magical powers.
Maybe there you go. Yeah, maybe Nelson's blood, emboldened them and they fought harder. Who knows?
Yeah.
Probably not, but that's it.
I am the decisions I've made while drinking. I am never going to question these guys for drinking rum with a dead body in it.
That's right.
I would have done it. And, all right. Enough about my personal life. Let's see so I guess Kennard's ships too. Is he involved in this?
I don't know. I mean, Kennard's 1820 gets here, so probably just kind of coming on kind of the rebuilding period.
Yeah,
he's probably cashing in on that.
He's cashing in on that. Yeah. What's going on? Do we know anything about St. John, too? The other big port city in this province?
I don't know. I expect they were probably doing the same thing.
They're doing the same thing. Halifax. And
of course, Halifax, 100%.
So, this whole area, they're just, they'd be going through. So, do you ever see any numbers for how many ships they used to go through in these big battles? They were like,
I couldn't say right off, but I mean, you're talking, ships that are sunk, ships that are crippled and, kind of abandoned, So, they would have been pretty. And of course, the big thing too with a lot of these ships that were damaged, it's the flying splinters that kill more people than the shot does, right?
Yeah. The horrible injuries I was reading about that to prepare for this too. With so many people losing eyes or just like dying after you get a huge splinter. There's no way you can get it out.
Exactly. And I think sometimes, when they're building ships out of wood, maybe from other parts of the world, from Asia, from Africa, that wood sometimes has, bacteria and other things that a European is not familiar with.
That's
so,
diseases.
That's it. So there are, I think, 7 coalitions against France. The 6th coalition thinks they get it done. They think the Napoleon surrenders. He goes off to Elba. Then he escapes and comes back. And they need a seventh coalition to finally put him down.
To finish him. Okay.
That's it. And that, of course, is the final battle at the Battle of Waterloo. And with the Duke of Wellington, and the Prussians show up just in time, and all of that. And Napoleon is finally defeated and sent to St. Helena, where he dies of stomach cancer.
Okay, that's what got him. I knew he went to St. Helena and lived in exile there, or whatever.
I guess there's a version also that the British poisoned him and he died that way.
Funny.
So they just said it was stomach cancer. That's what it was all along.
It was the turtle, damn it. The turtle killed him. Have you seen that big turtle that they have there? That he was around in Napoleon's time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's still alive.
There you go.
This massive turtle. Yeah. He's still around. Dave from behind the camera. He's still out there, Dave.
British Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, British Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, we should make that. Yeah, he's been the shit that turtle must have seen over the years.
Probably.
Yeah.
Sure.
God.
Now, we had some veterans of the Battle of Waterloo right here in the community. So apparently, for a number of years, the veterans of Waterloo would have a retreat here in the province. They would all get together. And in 1845, they had a wedding. There was one of the guys, I guess, brought his daughter with him, and she got married to one of the other veterans. So that's it. So there was that was celebrated. But yeah, apparently they had an annual veterans retreat. They'd all get together. There were also kind of other people who were around at the time of the Battle of Waterloo who were interviewed in later years about, when the word came here and the big celebrations that were held, all of that. The story, I guess, that maybe just sort of springs to my mind is there's two guys in Chatham. They were both veterans of the British military. One, of course, fought in the War of 1812, and one fought in the wars against Napoleon. Okay. And they were neighbors. And they didn't like, I don't know if they didn't like one another, or there was kind of hostility between them. And so one lad had a little well outside of his house where the spring water would just sort of collect, and he'd use that to kind of keep his water for the inside of the house. His name was Luke, and Johnny lived next door, and Johnny didn't pen up the spring next to his place. He'd just drink it of his neighbors. Yeah. And so one day Johnny sent his goat over to Luke's spring, and his goat was drinking. And apparently Luke's wife was apparently the tidiest and most conscientious woman in Chatham. So when she saw this goat drinking out of her, water.
The devil.
I guess
the
so.
Evil Hovencliff creature.
That's right. So she went out and she broke the goat's leg. As you do, apparently. Yeah. I don't know. Like that seems overkill to me. Like, drive the goat away, but no, just go out and...
Goats get a lot of hate for some reason.
I guess. So Johnny found out that the wife broke the leg, so he decided he was going to go out and murder Luke's cow.
Okay, he took it a step further.
He did.
Going after a bigger animal.
That's right. So he goes out to the field and he finds Luke's cow. And as he's about to approach Luke's cow, he says, listen, he thinks to himself, what did this cow do to me?
Right.
I'm not going to hurt this cow. I'm going to hurt Luke.
That's good. Yeah.
So he waits in the field until Luke comes to check on his cow. And he jumps Luke and just beats the hell out of him. Yeah, that's it. And then goes into hiding for a while because he's just committed a crime. And so he just kind of goes way upriver and just kind of hides for a while.
Which is the place to go.
Of course. That's it. And then he shows up when enough time has passed and he figures that Luke is getting better. So he shows up and he said, listen, are you going to press charges? And Luke says, yeah, I'm going to press charges. You just kick the hell out of me. So basically, then he threatened to kill him.
Okay, yeah. You always got to up the stakes. Yeah. Always up the stakes.
He took out his old military sword and basically said, if you do that, I'm going to kill you right now. So that's it. post-traumatic stress. You know,
There you go.
it's a real thing. So yeah, and so Luke decided he wasn't going to press charges. But apparently Johnny was a bit of a piratical figure. He would threaten. Apparently, the tax man came to his house and was gonna, charge him whatever. And he said, "Listen, did anybody see you come in here?" And the tax man said, "No." He said, "No, well, nobody's gonna see you leave either."
That's great. Oh, that's perfect. This guy's a hero of mine. Yeah. Wow.
So that's it. So yeah, apparently all these stories recorded by the Reverend Father Gaynor in his book Miramichi Memories. Also, the first appearance of Bug-Eye Brown.
Which we're going to talk about
Yes, we are.
long form
Yeah.
coming up. Yeah, that's a wild book.
It is. It really is. Kind of his remembrances of just being a kid.
It's the
in Chatham.
wildest, craziest book I've ever seen come out of this area. And it's funny, it's written by a priest.
It
too,
is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So those were some of the veterans of the Napoleonic Wars and of the wars of that time that were here. Some pretty wild characters.
Sounds like it. Well, thanks for sharing those, Sean. But yeah, it's interesting because it feels like, of course, Nelson, the village named after Nelson, I'm guessing Wellington Street in Chatham.
I believe so.
Named after the Duke of Wellington.
Yeah.
So there's lots of, British pride. But at the time, I wonder, was it like, oh my God, we're fighting the devil, over there? Or was it a case
Maybe,
of,
probably.
this is good for business? So I wonder, again, how much of that has changed over time.
No, I'm sure there's probably a little bit of both, right? And again, as you say, a lot of these guys that are going into the military at this time are going because there's a steady wage.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh,
That's
An adventure.
it. Sure. Yeah. And of course, in the Navy, there's a lot of guys that are just sort of, pressed into service, right?
Yeah.
Those stories of the shilling at the bottom of the glass of rum. You give it the rum's so dark you can't see the shilling at the bottom of it. When you drink it, you've taken the king's shilling, boy. You're now in the Navy.
What the hell?
You've accepted.
It's the most carny thing I've ever heard.
It is.
How does that hold up? How is that legal? You know what I mean? Oh,
that's it.
Taking the shilling.
Exactly. You've taken the king's shilling. You're now in the Navy.
Wow.
That's it. But yeah, of course, because again, being in the Navy is incredibly dangerous. You're almost certain to die.
Yeah,
so, so we need to come up with, crafty ways in order to get you in.
Yeah.
So that's it. In some cases, anyway. I'm sure there were others that, that did join for service for patriotic reasons. But yeah, not all of them. And it's interesting, too. You read stories from this area and from up in Bathurst, of kind of variety shows and bazaars where there's all these relics from the war that are there, just on display.
Yeah.
Swords and other things, which again, I mean, you'd never think of.
No.
You'd think they'd be in a museum or they'd be, whatever. That's it.
Yeah. Wonder where those wound up.
Who can say, right? Yeah. That's it. But even we know from our time, that working in the historical sites around, people would come with all kinds of stuff, that really, not that they shouldn't have, but, should be in a museum where it can be, kept in a good way and not just sort of in a room or in a barn. Yeah, exactly. So there was certainly, I was kind of, amazed to kind of read some of the things that were at some of these, church bazaars and whatever that that were military artifacts from this time. But again, we're just, I guess, novelties, to people in those days.
What? I guess at that time it'd be a lot of swords, wouldn't it?
Swords
muskets,
and whole uniforms and muskets and medals and all of that sort of thing.
Be around.
That's it. Caps and shakos and all of this. And there was a fair amount of veterans here in the community. As I say, they had a retreat in 1877 even. So this is 60 years after all this is happening. There's still 30 veterans here in New Brunswick.
You're making me think of something now because there's a lot of old coins. I don't remember. There's a very scratched old. I should have brought it for this penny, and we believe it has Napoleon on it.
Okay.
You can just make like an AP, you know what I mean?
Sure,
and the rest is
sure.
all scratched
Yeah.
off and or whatever, and you can see, so it feels like a coin. I guess he would have had coins
Oh, sure he would.
printed for sure. Yeah,
100%.
Because like I said, it's in really, really bad shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're looking like, what is that? And it almost looks like he's wearing like the Caesar
He
thing
would
or
have,
something like
100%,
that.
yeah.
So it doesn't look like, no crown. It's
Yeah.
one of those things, whatever they're called, the wreaths.
So laurels or whatever.
Yeah, it's a different looking coin, a big old copper one. So yeah, how that made its way all the way back to Semiwagon Ridge, I don't know, but yeah.
That's it. Yeah. But I suppose, like I say, after the battle's over or whatever, who knows? You go out and you find,
Yeah,
you bring back some stuff, right?
bring back some stuff.
That's
yeah.
it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, interesting to kind of know that this major, again, 20 years of continuous war on the European continent.
20 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And how that, I remember in school we learned like a bit about the French Revolution, but I never really could grasp it or whatever. So it's cooler to find out what the links are here. 'Cause
Yeah.
They never taught us that at all,
That's
did
right.
they?
That's right. No, and that's it. But I mean, in those days too, like I say, we had to write a 20-page paper
Yeah.
on that, and that was it.
That
right?
was it.
You know,
no, it was terrible.
it was, yeah.
Yeah. But did you see the new movie with
I
Napoleon?
haven't. I
No?
really wish I had, but
I want to see it too.
I
Have you seen it,
have not.
Dave? Yeah. How is it?
It's all right.
All right. Yeah. It's Ridley Scott movie, so it's getting the big budget treatment. But
True.
yeah, I know the scholars have delved into it and said parts of it weren't as historically accurate as it should have been or whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, interesting anyway that they're making
Of course. Yeah.
a movie about the guy.
That's it.
Oh.
I saw the old, I think 1970 Battle of Waterloo movie with Christopher Plummer as the Duke
Okay.
of Wellington. And, that's it. Apparently, a whole bunch of... Yeah, because the battles were staged and there's no CGI or whatever. It's the 1970, so
Yeah.
all the extras are actual people.
Actual people. Whoa,
and they're
yeah.
all like, I think, like ex-servicemen. I mean,
Okay.
they brought everybody together, and they're from all over everywhere, if I
Yeah.
remember rightly.
Wow.
Like they're just to get this many people to come and do kind of recreate the Battle of Waterloo. You've got people from all over everywhere. I think I got it. I got a VHS tape, secondhand in Halifax, and but it's a good show, and again, a lot of that British kind of sang-froid, in it, like I don't know.
French word to describe the British.
That's right. Like that kind of careless attitude to war, like I don't know what these men will do to the enemy, but by God, they frighten me. That's it. What was it? The typical Irish soldier, and he's trying to steal a pig, and he gets caught, and he says, "Oh well, I must confess, sir, that I'm that this pig has lost its way, and I'm trying to get it back to its relations." And so he's promoted on the spot because he knows how to defend a helpless position.
Oh my God. Wow.
So definitely a lot of that old, kind of jolly old, British nostalgia.
Exactly, yeah.
This was a great war.
Look at how great we were.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's it. Yeah, that's it. The entire column will advance. In which direction? Why, straight ahead, to be sure. It's very kind of that sort of way. But yeah, it's interesting. I remember we did. I did a whole course on kind of Napoleonic Europe and the wars and all that, and we had this. He was a great old professor, but he was very kind of old school, and he would. I remember once we were talking about Louis XVI, and Louis XVI had phimosis, I think is the medical term for it. Basically, his foreskin was too tight, and so when he became aroused, it was very painful for him.
Okay.
And the professor would not talk about that while there was a female student in the room. I don't know why, but again, just an older guy, just an older way of doing things.
Luckily, we can talk about this because we have no female viewers on YouTube. We have none.
Okay.
100%
Oh,
male.
well, there you
Last
go.
time we
There you
checked
go.
the stats.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, I remember him saying about that. And she kept saying, like, I don't care. Like, just Talk about it if you need to talk about it. No, whatever. She went to get up to go to the bathroom. The door had just closed. All right, he says. And now I can talk about it. I need to talk about it quickly before she comes back.
Wow. That's pretty funny.
That's it. So anyway, yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, that's it. You know, you get a few stories from 14 years of university.
14 years of university. Yeah, that's a war on its own.
It certainly was.
Your voice just got higher than it ever has before. Yeah, that's one for behind a paywall.
It certainly is. Yes.
John's university experience.
Woo. Yeah. But yeah, it was. That's it. But yeah. So that's the Napoleonic Wars and their connection here to the Miramichi.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, John. You got lots of information there, local stuff. And like I said, Napoleon.
Yeah.
Well, I just knew rumors and hearsay and stuff like that. But yeah, I love the local stories and all of that. And that great book that the priest wrote.
Yeah.
It's great.
Be kind to your goats, ladies and gentlemen.
Be kind to your goats.
You know?
And don't hurt animals.
Exactly.
There's a guy.
That's right.
There's a guy out there that'll hurt you.
Exactly. That's it. Be kind to your neighbors if you can be. If they're not kind to your goats, then, no holds barred. But yeah, be kind to your goats.
They hurt your animals, hurt them. And if that doesn't work, threaten to kill them.
Exactly. That's right.
PETA, we're open for a sponsorship. I'll say anything if they come across.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, so it's that time of the video where we say,
for us
please
to be kind to our neighbor.
Be kind to our neighbor. Be kind to us. Yeah, like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, comment by all means. People need to comment more, I think.
That's
you don't
true.
care if you start
That's
a fight.
true.
Comment anything.
Yeah.
Just talk about the weather like people normally do around here. Just put it's awful snowy out there, eh?
Yeah.
Put that in the comments. We don't care.
Sure.
And check out our good friend, Creepy Dave, the man behind the camera, David Jardine. Does Coffee Doodles. His channel, David Jardine Coffee Doodles, is available on YouTube right now. So yeah, link in the description below. And follow us. Character Matters Miramichi is the page where we promote this on Facebook and on Instagram. So go there. Please, some people, if you have a question for us, it's really hard to comment back on YouTube, it feels like. So please find us on Instagram and write to us there, or Facebook. Character Matters Miramichi. You'll see
Indeed.
our lovely faces.
Yeah. And while you're there, have a look at all of the things that we'll be doing. We're recording this in late March, but by the time it comes out, our operating season will be fast approaching. So we've got a number of tours and plays and different experiences all through the summer. So if you're heading to the Miramichi area, be sure to look us up. We'll be very happy to see you.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next week.
Until then.